Hello and a very good day everyone. So today we will learn on Power BI, whereby we will transform this data into an interesting visual in Power BI. And also in this video we will learn on some DAX measures. So let's get started. So now if you look in this particular database, we do have the date, we do have Apple product categories, the sales method, and also the respective locations, Apple product models, and the sales in US dollar. So now what I'm going to do is not only I want to import this data to Power BI, but I also want to create some visuals and also I want to teach some DAX measures. So let's get started. So the thing is, what I do is I will go to my Power BI desktop. So in this Power BI desktop, the first thing is I will click import data from Excel. So once I click import data from Excel, a box will appear. So I'll just click the file and I press open. So once I press open, it will take some time to load, and then eventually you will notice that a big box will appear. As is shown over here, a big box has appeared. So what you need to do is you need to tick on this box over here. So once you tick this, you can actually press load. So if you just select, it will only show you the preview. So you have to tick this box and then you press load. So once you press load, you will notice that it will take some time to load the data to the Power BI desktop. As you can see over here, the data has been loaded to the Power BI desktop. And this is our database. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a slicer. So I click on the slicer over here and then I want to click on countries. So I click on countries. So now it will show us the slicer of the respective countries. So if just say I tick USA, it will tick USA. If I tick Malaysia, it will tick Malaysia. So what I want to do is basically I want to create a title. So what I'm going to do is I just want to create a new measure. So here we will create some DAX measures. So I'll just create a new measure, and then in this new measure what I'm going to do is I want to name the new measure called as slicer. Once you click on new measure, you will notice a formula bar will appear and I want to name it as slicer. And then over here, what DAX measure that I'm going to use is I'm going to use selected value. So selected value is a DAX measure that will return the data on based on what we selected. So I'm going to select selected value. So we have a column name and alternate result. So the column name is, okay, for example, I'm going to choose countries, and then the alternate result is I'm going to put the world. Okay, maybe I'll put small w, the world, close bracket, and enter. So now you will notice the measure named slicer will be loaded to the data. So now the thing is, what I'm going to do is I just want to create a card. So I click on the white screen, I create a card, and then what I do is I just click on the slicer. So if you notice over here, so the slicer name is Malaysia. So if just say I tick India, so it will show the slicer of India. If just say I tick USA, it will show me the slicer of USA. So normally when we want to prepare a dashboard, regardless whether in Power BI or also in Excel, we need to make sure that we do have a title so that our managers, our stakeholders and client, when they look at the report, they can understand what is this report means. So what I'm going to do is I want to create a new measure where this measure is regarding to the title. Once I click new measure, and then I'll name this measure called as title. So I'm going to put here apostrophe sales of Apple products in space close apostrophe and then I want to name it as slicer, and then I press enter. So meaning to say I've created a new measure called title. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this card over here. So once I select the card and I want to untick the slicer, and I'll tick the title. So now you can see sales of Apple products in USA. So if just say I tick Australia, it will show me sales of Apple products in Australia. But however, if you notice over here, this card over here has a title over here. Just say I want to remove the title over here. What I need to do is I need to select this card over here, and then after that I go to format your visual, and under the category label I'll just put off. So as you can see over here, now we do have a proper title. So if just say I click here India, so it will show us sales of Apple products in India. But if just say I want to clear filter, it will show us the sales of Apple products in the world. So this is the interactive title. So now what I'm going to do next is I want to create a chart. So I'm going to select the screen, click on the screen, and then I'm going to choose the third chart, which is clustered bar chart, and then I want to choose Apple product categories, and I want to tick the sales USD. So over here, as you can see, this is the chart. So let me make it bigger so that you can see clearly. So let me just extend this. So there you go. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to format your visual, and I want to on for data labels. So that as you can see over here, this is the data labels. And then I go to data labels, and then I go to value, and then I just put the size of 20. So once I put the size of 20, now you can see the data labels clearly. And the same thing, I also want to go to the x-axis. So I want to go to x-axis, and I want to put the values also at the size of 20. And I'm going to do the same for y-axis. Go to y-axis, put the size of 20. So now you can see it clearly. So what I'm going to do is, so this is the chart that we can see clearly, and then I also want to create a interesting story. So what I'm going to do is, the first thing is I want to create a new measure. So this new measure, I just want to name it as total. Basically, I want to find the total sales. So I want to name it as total, and I'm going to put as sum. So what I'm going to do is I want to find the total of in sales USD, and I press close bracket and I press enter. So once I press enter, you will notice this new measure has been loaded to the data. So now if just say I create a card. So I click on the white screen, I create on the card, and then what I do is if just say I tick on the total, it will show me the total sales. So now what I'm going to do is I want to create a story, okay, based on the highest data. So I'm going to click on new measure. So once I click new measure, you will notice this formula bar will appear, and then I'm going to name this as highest category. And then what I'm going to do is I want to put top n. This top n will show us the top 5 data, top 3 data, depending on your situation. So I want to put top n value as the top first data, and then they will ask me which table. So I don't want the table to be selected. Instead, I want to prefer the categories to be selected. So in this case, I put all, I open bracket, and then I choose based on categories. I close bracket, and then I press comma. So we have top first data based on the column, and then what I do is I want the expression based on total, which we have created previously. So total, and then press comma. So I want to do it as descending order so that it will show me the highest category. So I choose descending order, close bracket, and enter. So now when I press enter, you will notice that a new measure has been created. So meaning to say, when I click this and I just untick the total, when I untick the total and I select highest category, you will notice that based on the selection, that iPhone is the highest category. But if just say I go to Malaysia, you will notice over here that Apple Watch is the highest category. But if just say I go to US and I tick this, you will notice that the MacBook is the highest category. So basically, I want to show to my manager which is the highest category. And not only that, I also want to create another new measure which also shows us the maximum value. So I'm going to create new measure, and then the formula bar will appear, and then what I'm going to name it as highest value. So I'm going to put here highest value, and then I want to use the DAX measure of MAXX. So I press tab. So they will ask me table and expression. So I don't want to select the table. I'll put all because I want to select the particular column. So in this case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to press open bracket. So they will ask me which header I want to choose. So I want to choose Apple product categories, close bracket, comma. So the expression I will choose total because this will show us the total value. So I put here total and tab, close bracket, and enter. So now what I'm going to do is, so once I press enter, so now you'll notice there is a new measure called highest value over here. So if I tick this and then I untick this, and I select this, you will notice that it will show us the highest value. So now if just say I click India, you will notice that the highest value is 200,000. Over here they will show us 200,000 as well. So now what I'm going to do is I want to create a story. So I'm going to go to new measure. So once I create new measure, the formula bar will appear. So in the formula bar, what I'm going to do is I want to name this as story. So basically what I want to say is in space apostrophe and then I want to select as slicer. So slicer, so maybe in India or in the world, what I'm going to do is an apostrophe comma and then apostrophe or maybe space apostrophe and then and what I want to do is I want to say highest category. So highest category and then and apostrophe and then I want to say has the highest sales amounting to, and then after that close apostrophe and then what I'm going to do is I want to put highest value. So highest value and then after that I press enter. So basically I want to create a story. So in this story, meaning to say, so there's a DAX measure over here. So I just click this and then what I do is I untick the highest value and I tick the story. So as you can see over here, let me expand this. So if you see here in India, iPhone has the highest sales amounting to 200,000. If just say I click here, just say USA. So when I click USA, so it will show here in USA, MacBook has the highest sales amounting to 43,000 or 44,000. So if you notice over here, the grammar is not so nice. So if just say you want to edit your DAX measure, you double click this. So once you double click this, a formula bar will pop out. So I want to say in the country, highest category has the highest sales among, okay, I'm going to put here, among the Apple products, okay, which is amounting to, and then after that I want to put here USD and then I press enter. So once I press enter, so now you'll notice the grammar is correct, but unfortunately the formatting of the numbers is not properly formatted because sometimes we prefer to have a comma. So this is where we will use the formats DAX measure. So I'll just go to this value over here, okay, and then I put here format. So format is something similar to a text function in our Excel, and then I'll just go here, this is the value, and then I put here comma apostrophe hashtag comma hashtag close apostrophe close bracket. So now why there's a hashtag comma hashtag? Because we want the number to be presented in 1,000 separator, so that whenever there's a comma there will be 1,000 separator, a comma which separates the data. So I'm going to press here enter. So once I press here enter, so now you'll notice it is perfectly presented. So if just say I click here Australia, so you will notice now 16,000, so it's being presented properly. So now what I'm going to do is I just want to make some upkeep. I want to make it more beautiful. Go to format my visual and then off the category label. So this data over here, I'll just to make it smaller, okay, maybe something like this, and then I'll just adjust the size accordingly. Okay, so let me do some upkeep. This data over here, I'll just click the slicer. So I don't want the slicer to be in a vertical list, so I click format your visual and then I choose slicer settings and then I go to vertical list, I choose as tiles. So now it will appear in tiles format, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to expand this. So once I expand this, as you can see over here, and then I'll go to values and then I want to make it as 20, so that now you'll see it's in a bigger size. And then what I want to do is I want to go to the background and I want to choose as blue color. So now you see it's in blue color and I want to put the font as black color. So this is how it looks like. And meanwhile the title also I want to change color. So I go to the callout value and then I change it to white color. Meanwhile I go to the general, I go to effects and I change to dark blue color. So of course, as you can see over here, this is properly presented. And then over here, let me make the changes. So this data, let me expand first. So we have a data over here. I go to visuals. So visual over here, and then I go to the bars, and then after that, instead of this blue, I choose dark blue. So now you can see over here, and then after that, this data, what I'm going to do is I just want to expand a bit. So here you go, and then I go to general, I choose blue color as well. So I'm going to change this as dark blue, and I'm going to go to the visual, and then I want to put this as white color. Okay, so as you can see, and maybe this one also I change to dark blue as well, so that it can be consistent. So I go here and I put here dark blue. Okay, so of course the coloring I'll change to white and bold. So there you go. So now if just say I click here Australia, so you have the title changes, you have the graph changes, and of course there is a story which can help your manager, your stakeholder, or your client to understand the performance. So now if just say I click here India, so now you will notice that this is sales of Apple products in India, the graph changes, and also the storyline changes as well.